Well, hello there, football friends. So tonight we're joined by Newington FC captain Richard Gowdy. Richard talks us through the League and Cup double success, which has led to Newington getting promotion into the NIFL Championship. So big times ahead for Newington, and really enjoyed catching up with Richard Gowdy, a new football friend. So kick back and listen in, and remain awesome football friends.
Keepie Uppies with Richie and Tots.
Right, Richard, nice wee easy one to start with then. We usually start with a nice easy one. When you were growing up then, who was your favourite football team and who would be your hero when you were growing up and why?
Oh, football team, that'd be Celtic. Support them my whole life. Unlike my father and my brother before me, they're both Man United men. So
Oh dear.
I went an easier route, I would say, but they would beg to differ. But no, in terms of football idols and heroes growing up, the main one would probably have been Roy Keane for me. Watching him obviously play for Ireland and Man United, given my family supported him, but I just admired the way he played football, the way he led his teams, and just this sort of respect he gained on the pitch just through both his attitude towards winning, more so than anything, and the fact that he would basically do anything to get a win. That's pretty much the way I grew up playing football, and it was all through, I suppose, watching him and loving the way he played.
And of course, he went on to play for Celtic, so I'm sure you're glad about that. I know that was probably towards the end of maybe his career. You mightn't have seen the best of Roy Keane, but still, he got a season or two, which must have been great.
I was at the time, yeah, but he was sort of well past his best then. One of the worst debuts I've ever seen against Clyde, I think it was, in the Cup for
they got beat, didn't they? Yeah.
Pretty woeful, yeah. But he also had an absolute stormer against Rangers when we beat them as well. So, no, there was ups and downs, but I grew up watching him for Man United, and he's still this day arguably one of my favourite players of all time.
Yeah. And what a captain. It's funny, we had the Newry City captain on there a few months ago, and his favourite player as well was Roy Keane, although he was a Man United supporter. And Darren King ended up becoming captain in Newry, and of course you're captain in Newington. So was that what kind of drove you towards? Is that, do you think, obviously you must have had those leadership skills within yourself probably from an early age, but did he kind of drive those kind of standards even higher when you watch someone like Roy Keane, the way he sort of barked at his players and inspired them?
Yeah, there's different types of sort of captains and different ways of leading teams. You see some teams give captaincies to the best players in terms of technical ability, the likes of your Messi's when he's captain Barcelona, Hazard when he's captain of Belgium. You don't see them barking out too many orders and sort of commanding the team that way. They lead by sort of going and doing things and making things happen. But I was never sort of technically the best player in any team I played in, but I like to think I could do what I do bring to the table is get the best out of players around me, and that's something that you see Roy Keane was obviously very good at, and anyone that played with him, when you see them sort of talking in interviews like Gary Neville and stuff like that, it's evident that that was sort of a key attribute of his in terms of getting the best out of everyone around him. Whether you like him or loathe him, I don't think anyone can sort of knock him for his leadership skills.
Yeah. Bit harsh on yourself, no technical ability, and you're the best player in the league last year. Is that right? You have to stick that in the CV. See if you're going for a job. Somebody says, what positives do you bring to the job? Well, I'm intermediate Premier's Player of the Year. So.
No, look, that's obviously a nice award to pick up, but I definitely don't think it was for my technical ability. I was slightly embarrassed getting that award, to be honest. There's far better players in that league than me, far better players in my own team than me, to be quite honest. And it was a shock. It was a nice shock, don't get me wrong. But no, when it comes to actual technical ability, there's far better players out there than me, especially within that league and within sort of our team.
I'd say
Can I just say, boys, just to interrupt, you talk about technical ability, it's an attribute, yes, but sometimes the ability to keep it simple and do it right and do it well is what can be celebrated. And Roy Keane was that same beast. What he done it well, he done it right. So
Yeah,
technical ability, sometimes gets all the hype, but simplicity is genius, as they say.
no, well that's it. And like I try, don't get me wrong, there's the odd times I try and out sort of Hollywood ball 30, 40 yards, but more often than not, that doesn't land in the right spot. But even when you watch the likes of Roy Keane, I think that's something that he actually doesn't get the credit he deserves for. If you watch him in terms of passing the ball forward, he wasn't a sort of a crab or a sidewards or backwards merchant. Once he got the ball, he always tried to go forward and pass the ball in the forwards' feet, trying to make things happen that way. It might have only been 10, 15-yard passes, but like you said, it's simple. But not every midfielder you see these days is keen on that. They're all about sort of stats and wanting to make sure they're very rarely give the ball away, and they're happy to pass the ball sidewards and things like that. Me, myself, I prefer to try and make things happen and pass it forwards more often than not. A lot of time I lose the ball. We a guy doing stats for us towards the end of last season, and I noticed that I was giving the ball away an awful lot. I also noticed I had more of the ball than most players, but I don't really mind if I'm actually trying to make things happen in the final third of the pitch by passing the ball forward, even the middle third. So that's not something that I'll ever shy away from, and I'll hold my hands up and say, look, when it comes to sort of the technical side of things and being the best passer of a ball or the best dribbler of a ball, that's not going to be me, but I'm not going to shy away and just start passing the ball backwards or sidewards either because of it.
And funny, it was a good point there, Richard, as well. 'Cause I can remember your ex teacher at St Paul's, Paddy McAnallen, telling us about Neil Lennon. So Neil Lennon went to the same secondary school as Richard in Lurgan, and he said there were a number of players that technically were better than Neil Lennon, but what Neil Lennon had, he played it simple, and he had that extra bit of determination that maybe those technical players, the fancy pants players, didn't have. And then, of course, he went on to have a fairly decent career at Celtic. So, yeah, it was, it's not all about the Cruyff turn.
Well, that's it. There's a quote, isn't there, about sort of talent only getting you so far. Talent doesn't work if you sort of don't work hard. And that's what I put first and foremost before I go out into any game or any sport I play. I try to be the hardest worker on every pitch, every session. I know I'm not going to be the best, but if I work harder than sort of everyone else around me, then I'll be happy enough.
Yeah,
and then them attributes they're attributes that managers want to tap into, hence you being captain of the team and stuff, So as I say, the Maverick isn't always the go-to guy. It's great to celebrate the grafters and the guys that they give it their all. Lead by example.
Yeah, well, look, that's sort of what I try and base myself on. Sort of every game I go out to, every session I go into, just work hard, and that's sort of what I said to the lads at the start of last season. And credit to every single player that played a part in our campaign last year, because the first time I got into the huddle before the first game of the season, I says our aim is to outwork every single team we play against this year, and then we'll see where we're at by the end of the season. And I'd say 95% of the games last year we outworked the opposition, and it stood us in good stead when you look at how we finished the season.
So we'll touch on that brilliant season, Richard, and the two Richards. You'll take us through your adventure last season. But to go back to your youth team days, then tell us about sort of your youth team. Who all did you sort of play with? What's your kind of fondest memories of underage?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I wasn't one to jump about from club to club. I grew up in the Short Strand, and there's a local youth club there, Doyle Youth Club, and that's who I grew up playing for from, I think I actually joined the team a year above me when I was a kid. There was no team for my age yet. I actually started off in nets for them when I was about sort of 7 or 8, I think it was, until sort of my age group came through. Then I stayed with the Doyle up until I was about maybe 16, I think it was. My dad was actually the manager, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Shortstrand, but it's a very small sort of close knit area, so you don't have a big pool of players to pull from, the likes of your sort of maybe Rosarios, your Oliver Plunkets, when you look at sort of youth clubs in the Belfast area can pull from. So with quite a tight knit group, but I think we overachieved when you seen what we've done, and that was one of my most enjoyable sort of days in my career, getting to play with my mates every Saturday, and the fact that we actually had a very good team and we were competitive every week. We won a couple of leagues, a couple of trophies, with a good run in Northern Ireland Cup one year as well. And I look back at that with sort of great fondness, and any of the lads that bump into each other. I'm playing with one at the minute in the Newington team, but I'm still good friends with most of them, sort of outside of football, and every time we meet up, it's sort of, we always seem to go back to talking about the days playing for the Doyle. But I suppose whenever you finish up with your sort of local club, I think it became a time where in Cliftonville had tried to sign me when I was about 14 through a teacher in school, but I didn't really fancy it. I was just enjoying where I was too much. And then I think it was my dad, who was actually my manager at the time, sort of pushed me when I was about 16. He says, I think it's time you probably go and give one of the Irish League clubs a crack. And then that's when I eventually joined Cliftonville, who I was at before I ended up signing for Newington then.
That's funny. I work with a fella, Pierce, from Ardoyne, and I just mentioned him because I knew he was around your age, and he says he asked you about a Foyle Cup trip. I think it was just basically a split between Doyle and Ardoyne, and he mentioned he's got an absolute licking from Sheffield United. He said about 5 or 6.
Well, that was the second year I went to the Foyle Cup, and it was a mixture of, it was basically Doyle, Ardoyne, and I think it was Deanby as well. And geez, that was a bad experience. Sheffield United, I think, trying to remember, I think it might have been 10-0.
Oh, was it 10? Oh, so he halved it. I have to say them tomorrow then.
Why? What did he say? 5?
He said about 5 or 6. Yeah. Was it 10?
No, it was a hell of
Double
a
figures.
It was really embarrassing that. I don't know if we actually won a game in that Foyle Cup, because I was with the Down O'Connor Select side.
Right.
So I actually went, I think it was the year before that or 2 years before that, and we had a very, very good side made up of all the teams in the league. Big Joe from Newhill took us, and we drew them on Pally that year, 0 each. Then we got to the quarter or semi-final, and St Kevin's from Dublin beat us in extra time 1-0. But we had a very good side. We had players from North Belfast, Ardoyne, Newhill, Doyle. Big pool of players there, and very, very good players, some very good players. The likes of even St Pat's, the likes of Jerry Thompson, God rest him, he was doing left back or left wing he was for us in that Foyle Cup team, and he was about 4 foot nothing, and he was absolutely frightening. He was unbelievable. He was like a wee dog, wouldn't give up on anything, and he tortured teams. But that was the good year. The year we could beat Sheffield United, I'd rather not speak about that one.
You're going to be waking up tonight, aren't you, just staring at the ceiling?
Some pastings we got there.
But I suppose it gave you a wee taster of maybe sort of the level that you know that you kind of needed.
Standards.
Yeah, the fitness and the pass.
That was made up of mostly Doyle and Ardoyne players, but it was actually a year above us. So there was a couple of lads from the Doyle who played in a year above me were in that team, but it was just a disaster from start to finish, to be honest. And when you go up against a side like Sheffield United, and you turn up, you see the warm-ups they're doing, the gear they're wearing, and the way they knocked the ball about, I think they were 3-0 up inside the first 10 or 15 minutes or something like that. It was safe to say I was losing the rag. it was not a pleasant experience, to be honest. And if anyone knows me, whenever I was a youth team player, I wasn't the mellowest, so it was not a good experience.
But yeah, the Foyle Cup, I'm sure you've still other pretty good memories, and you play a bit of Gaelic as well. So did you find it hard, kind of, or maybe it was easier at underage, kind of, working between the two?
To
It
be
must be a bit
honest,
trickier now, but it was a
when I
lot
was
easier when
younger,
you're young. Yeah,
I loved it when I was younger. We were playing matches on a sort of Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. I loved that, and you could deal with it a lot easier when you're younger. Now, playing senior football and playing the level we're at with Newington, especially getting into the championship, it's a lot harder to manage. Your body feels it a lot more, so it's sort of finding that time for the appropriate recovery and stuff like that. But again, it's probably foolish of me, but I don't really look into it too much. I would go play a full match on a Saturday, then go play on a Sunday, not really do much recovery training, back again on a Tuesday and stuff like that. So no, it's fair to say it was a lot easier back then.
and it doesn't it really doesn't get any easier. I mean, Richard will testify. We play for the over 35s for our local team, Oxford Sunnyside. And Richie, how many games do we have a month? We're lucky if we have one or two, and it takes us about 2 weeks to recover.
You play on a Sunday. You play on a Sunday, and nobody's fit to train on Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesdays, yeah. Tuesdays a couple of.
Call off there.
So enjoy these times.
I'm doing my best. But like he says, it's definitely getting tougher. And it's not like I'm sort of 34. I'm only 27.
Yeah, you're in your peak years.
I'm starting to feel it now, to be quite honest with you. But I think that's just taken its toll over the past sort of 10, 12 years of playing constantly. See, I wouldn't get any sort of time off, I suppose. You just playing around around the clock in terms of the calendar year. When most footballers, when their season finishes, that's it, they would get at least 2-3 weeks off before they're in for pre-season. Yeah. But that's really when the GAA season's sort of kicking off. You're in the middle of your league campaign. Championship's just around the corner, so it's sort of flat out non-stop.
And before Richie moves on to the Newington years, so. What happened then at Cliftonville? Were you there for sort of a year or two? Was it with kind of the youth team? And did you get a sniff of the kind of around the first team squad or reserves?
I was at Cliftonville. I joined at under 17s and I stayed there until I was reserve. So I stayed there. There was about 19 or 20. I think 19, 20, 21 maybe 21. I think it was. So yeah, under 17s, under 19s, then and the reserves. A couple of years at the reserves, but that was all I was really willing to give it, because if I wasn't going to be in around the first team after a couple of years, then I was always going to move on to try and have a crack at senior football somewhere else. But in terms of sniffing in around the first team, I'd only played a few pre-season games with the first team. I think we played Dundalk one year. I was down at that. I was in against the next year coming United and stuff pre-season. I can always remember those games. Irish League, I was on the bench against Carrick one game, but that was really the only opportunity I got. And I just knew I didn't want to really give it a third year playing reserve team football. And at the time, Cliftonville had arguably the best right back in the league, which is where I was playing for the reserves right back in Tomas Cosgrove. So I knew it was probably time for me to move on, and that's when I went and sort of had a crack elsewhere. Done pre-season with Larne. I didn't really like it, just more so to do with the travelling up and down. I've always played sort of quite local to myself, and I went and I met the guys from Newington. Connor Cross and Dar Teague was actually the one that got me across. He managed me at Cliftonville and knew a bit about me, so he'd reached out and says about meeting with the guys at Newington. I went and done that, and I liked what I had to say, and decided to give it a crack, and I've been there ever since.
Happy days. And were you always obviously you were right back then with the reserves of Cliftonville, but have you kind of moved into centre midfield? Have you kind of evolved into central midfielder, or did you play there kind of underage? Or
I always was a centre midfielder. When I played for the Doyle, my whole career was centre midfield. Under 17 at Cliftonville, I was centre midfield. Under 19, it was a weird one at Cliftonville because I I used to be what you would call a goal scorer midfielder, and at Clinville under 19s, they actually played me either centre forward or centre mid. Ended up with something like 16 goals. But not many Newington men will believe you when I say that, when they look at my goals returned for them. But Michael Presser, who and eventually called me up to the reserves. I think it was thanks again to Darty who gave him the recommendation. But I was always full of energy. I was more sort of box in the box. Like I mentioned, I'm not going to pretend I was the most technical sort of player, so it was more an in-your-face type midfielder, get the ball, move it on, trying to attack a box, that sort of thing. I think it was more the energy, so he thought that I could slot in at right back, and I loved it, to be fair. When I went to Clinville, really enjoyed playing right back, and at a good first year at reserve, I ended up getting player of the year, and sort of it just accelerated from there, and that's where I started when I first signed for Newington as well. I'm not sure whatever made Connor move me back into centre mid, but I think I'm doing all right now, so sort of went full circle.
Happy days. So looking forward then to hearing the Newington years. Go ahead, Richie.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Richard, so Newington, what age? 21, 22?
Yeah.
Left Cliftonville? Yeah.
Yeah.
So straight in. When did the captaincy role become a thing for you?
So Big Dino was our captain for the first 3 years, I think, 2 or 3 years I was there. I think his last year might have been the year we won the Stealing Sons 2017. So I think I was 23 or 24 when he made me vice captain to Joe McDonnell. Joe eventually, I think Joe left halfway through that season, and then I took over, and then I was obviously made captain for the start of the following year, and I've been captain since. So I would say I've been captain from I was about 24.
That's young. That's young for a captain, but again, then leadership qualities obviously stood out, and your coach knowing you from a past life or in juniors. So as captain of Newington, do you have any off-field duties as well as on-field?
Again, it's not much. It's sort of any team nights out, organising those, kiddies, things like that. But in terms when it comes to the actual football side of things, outside of it, not really, apart from just organising things and keeping on top of players for any silly things that are going on in terms of Christmas dinners, organising all that sort of thing. That would be pretty much the extent of it outside of the actual training and playing.
Yeah, so talking about Christmas dinners, the Steels or Sons and Steels final on Christmas Day, surely that must be a shock to your system year on year. Obviously you were successful last year, but Christmas Day, playing football on Christmas Day, talk us through that process.
To be fair, it's before I joined it, I hadn't really heard of Stephen Sons. It's obviously one of the more prestigious sort of intermediate competitions you can win in Northern Ireland, and I suppose definitely County Antrim anyway. And once you're involved in it, you sort of want to be involved in it every year. Now, I was always one. I enjoyed a drink on Christmas Eve and things like that. And the first year I was in the final, I was a wee bit, fuck's sake, I can't have a drink on Christmas Eve here. Grudged it, I suppose. But then when you get down on Christmas Day and you see the amount of people that turn up and they don't necessarily support you or the opposition, it's just a tradition for them to go every single year. And there's a brave crowd there. And when you're on the right side of the result, it's honestly a feeling like no other. Once the final whistle goes and it's just pandemonium and the celebrations after, and you're celebrating for a week or two after that. It's just, like you said, it's a shock the first time around, but I've now been involved in 3, and I would love to be involved in a lot more before I hang up the boots. But considering the division we're playing in now, we're actually not eligible to play it or defend it this year.
But that Christmas Day thing, so then you're arranging Christmas Day dinner after with the boys. I'm sure that, as you say, you have a week of celebrations. Yes. How do you dust yourself down for the new year to keep the league campaign going?
With great difficulty, because I'll tell you, see, the first year we won it, we were in around the bottom of the league. We were having a really poor league campaign, and we won that, and we must have celebrated for I'm not joking, about 5 or 6 days, boys were just constantly going out, meeting up in the Chester, meeting in
Yeah.
bars, blah, and the celebrations just rolled on. And we played, I think it was the following week, Saturday, we played Dundela, who were running away to the league at the time, down at their pitch. And boys were
Mhm.
turning up, still down, because I'm near sure a few of us were still out on the Thursday, and we were still a bit down. And we ended up drawing 5 each of them. We didn't even have a full team, but it was the maddest game of football I think I've ever been involved
Yeah.
in. Anytime any team went forward, they just seemed to score, and we were just standing going, what
Yeah.
the fuck is going on here? But it was just, it's a bit. But this year, I think it was a wee bit more, because of where we were in the league and we were doing well, we had to sort of keep a lid on it a wee bit. We actually saved the celebrations until New Year's night, because the way Christmas fell, I think with a match during the week, or with training during the week twice, then with the play, might have been Banbridge. I think it was Banbridge down there. So we didn't, with a party that night on New Year's night to celebrate it. And then I think a couple of boys were out on the Sunday and stuff as well after that. But this year was a lot more reserved than the first time. The first time we won it, to be truthful with you.
So having the success then on Christmas Day, then to go on and gain promotion into the championship, how does that feel?
That was, again, the day we wrapped that up was an absolutely unbelievable feeling. You sort of go into it knowing if results elsewhere go your way, you can win it. Because I was actually panicking, because obviously I was getting married. I missed a game after the split. So I was thinking, I need to have this league wrapped up before I go.
Sorry, Richard. Was that from the one red card you received last season?
No, the reason I was missing was because I was going on my stag, because they changed the fixtures. Our league was supposed to finish the Saturday before my stag, or the Tuesday before my stag, sorry. But because Armagh were in the Intermediate Cup final, they moved it all back a week. So I was actually going to miss the last game or two of the season. So in the back of my mind, I was thinking, need to have the league won before I go away here, otherwise I'll not be able to enjoy myself. So once we've actually played Armagh on the Saturday, and we had beat Bangor the week before. We actually hammered them down there, and we knew if we beat Armagh and Bangor were away to Limavady, which was a tough game. So for us, that was first against third. We were first, Armagh were third, Bangor were second, and Limavady were fourth. So we knew they had a tough tie away to them, and we played Armagh and we were 5-0 up at half time. And we hadn't beat Armagh all season. Armagh were the only team we hadn't beaten in the league. Plus, they knocked us out of the cup in penalties as well. And you're sort of getting in going, it's obviously going to be a tough game. But we just blew them clean out of the water. I think we just followed on from where we left off with the Bangor game. Because I think, what was the score against the Bangor? I think we beat Bangor 6-1 or something like that. No, we beat Bangor 5-0, we beat Armagh 6-1. That's what it was. And once you're 5-0 up there, you're just right. You're thinking, right, what's going on in this other match? So second half kicks off, and we knew Bangor were winning 1-0 at this stage. Someone told us half time, but all I heard is one of our supporters shouting from the stand during the match, 2-1 Limavady. And I'm running about the pitch. I'm running about the pitch like a header, going, it's 2-1 Limavady, 2-1 Limavady. And then I catch myself going, what the fuck am I doing here? We've a match we have to finish this first. Even though we were 5-0 up, captain of the team shouldn't really be concerned about other results. So I actually got took off about 5 minutes later, and I'm just sitting on the bench with someone refreshing the Limavady and Bangor games, and I think it went 3-1 Limavady, and then Limavady got a man sent off, and our match goes full time. It goes 3-2, still no result in for the Bangor game, and we're all hovering around in the centre circle of the pitch. Someone's refreshing Twitter. Next minute, someone just says full time, Limavady win, and then we all just went absolutely ballistic, and then we all go into the changing room, supporters and all. One of our players brought Tiernan McNichol brought 3 bottles of champagne with him, just in the off chance that we did win it that
Yes.
day, and then we're all popping it in the changing room, going ballistic. Our song that we normally play, I'm feeling it, had that blaring,
Yeah.
supporters going mental, we're all going mental. It was brilliant, and I relished that simply because I knew the day we were going to lift the league. Once that was confirmed, I wouldn't be there. We lifted the league in the last game of the season against Bonnybridge, and that's when I was away, obviously on my stag. So I was trying to enjoy that as much as I could.
Oh, absolutely. That was your day. That was your day. No, fantastic. And said, live long in the memory. Maybe second best to your wedding day.
Look, I'm not sure the wife's going to be listening to this podcast.
I
So
know.
I think it's safe to say it's the best day of my life. I said that in the speech as well.
We've kind of skipped over that red card, Richard, though.
We
Are
did,
we cheeky red card then? Was that a straight red or was it two yellows?
The one against Portadown?
Is that what it was?
I think it was against Portadown. Well, I got sent off. Me and the doc got sent off for the same incident against Portadown in I can't remember, it was County Antrim, the League Cup. And it was, to be quite honest, I thought it was a ridiculous red card for me. I thought the doc deserved one, but I didn't think I did. And there's footage of it. I actually don't really do anything. I run over and shout at the referee. But as I run in, it looks like I grip one of their players by the neck and throw him to the ground. But if you actually watch it closely, the doc, our player, we call him the doc, Big Daruni, he throws his shoulder into the player's chest as I'm running around him, as I put my hand around him. And it looks like I'm throwing him to the floor, but it's actually him that floors him with a shoulder in his chest. And we both get sent off. And even though we should have had a free kick, we had poured it down by the balls that night. And the referee sent both of us off and we ended up getting beat 2-0.
Must have been a poor down, man.
Must have been. There's plenty of them about it, partly. So,
shocked.
last season, you had five goals to your name in all competitions, is that right?
I think it might have been 6 now. I think you might be.
Alright, I won't fall out with you. Tell me this. Any standout goals that you want to talk us through?
Well, the best goal I scored was the one against Lisburn Distillery down at Seaview. It's actually on my Instagram and everything. It was actually recorded, that match, so there's living proof that I actually scored a worldie. I actually scored 2 that game, but no, that one would be the standout. But the most important one would have probably been the banger one in the Steeling Sons. They had just went 3-2 up, and then I equalised. But bear in mind, I think I was actually standing on the line when I kicked in the roof of net, and you missed it. But they all count, I suppose.
Absolutely, brilliant. So a season to remember, and obviously the season ahead. I'm sure the excitement's building. So at the weekend there, you beat the Premier League bound Newry City in the pre-season game.
Yeah, we beat Newry the weekend there. It was, to be fair, I've caught the buzz now. I'd missed the first 2 or 3 weeks of pre-season there. Came straight back into it last week. Got 30 minutes against Belfast Celtic. Played about 75 against Rosario and then about 70 or 80 on Saturday against Newry. Newry obviously a good side. They won the championship last year getting into the Irish League, but the boys didn't look out of their depth at all. I thought we were very good for large spells of the game, and even when we were under pressure, we looked quite comfortable. They hit the post or the bar, but other than that, they didn't really trouble us too much. We were defensively very disciplined, very sound. And going forward, we always look dangerous. So, yeah, it sort of does get you really excited for the upcoming season when you see how well you can play against teams like that.
No, brilliant. Testing yourself. And as I said, Newry, friends of the podcast, we had Don Mullen on and Don King as well previously. Wish them all the best. But for Newington then, the championship, obviously it's going to be exciting times. What's the ambitions for the season ahead? And do you harbour Irish League ambitions yourself?
Well, look, first and foremost, I don't think we can get too far ahead of ourselves. We know realistically that it's going to be a big step up. It is, but I think the quality we showed the back end of last year, especially after the split, and what was shown in glimpses pre-season, especially Saturday. I think the aim for the season will be to stabilise ourselves in the league, show that we're more than capable of competing with these teams. I think I'll be safe in saying that what we'll aim to do is finish in around mid-table. Look, if we can do better than that, great. You always want to sort of strive for more and strive for better, but I think realistically, first season ever for the club to be involved in the championship, I think you want to stabilise yourself, have a good campaign in terms of secure safety as early as possible, and just give the rest of the teams in the league a wee bit of an idea that Newington aren't just there sort of as a fluke and a one-off good campaign in the Intermediate League. We're a good side. We're a club with a lot of talented players there, and we're going to be there to stay, and then build on that over the sort of next 2-3 years, and then hopefully start really challenging. Because look, I don't see why not within the next couple of years we can't be challenging at the top end of the table, because whenever Newington first stepped into the the Premier Intermediate League, people thought they were just going to go straight back down. Like it's we Newington from North Belfast. They'd hardly sort of leave an impression in this league. And to be fair, the first few years it was a struggle. First few years I joined, you are fighting relegation, but with just slowly but surely kept building, and that's going to be the aim in this league as well. Because we know how sort of unforgiving and how hard it's going to be. You look at a club like Queens, we play every year pre-season, but when they were in our league, I think they gave us a run around a couple of times, and they beat us in the Irish Cup this year, and they got relegated out of that league. So we know how tough it's going to be, but I think the boys are going to be very well prepared for it.
No, brilliant. And obviously the club's going from strength to strength, both on the field and off the field. I'm sure there's a lot of people working tirelessly in the background to help you, commit and sustain that level.
Again, look, we aren't fortunate enough to have our own pitch and our own sort of social club where there's money coming in. A lot of fundraising is being done in the background. The committee, Conor Cross and Hamo, the management team, the players themselves. A lot of responsibility is on us to raise funds in order to just stabilise the club to get us through a season, because it's very expensive for us to host a home game at Solitude. But again, like you said, there's a lot of volunteers involved in the club that work tirelessly behind the scenes in order to make sure that it is going to be a successful year, and we are going to be able to sort of build on it again. So yeah, look, I could start naming names in terms of the people that are doing things in the background, but we could be here all night talking about them, to be honest, because people like that, the club is built on people that we have in the background that have been there. People might know them, but they've been there long before I was at the club, and they'll probably be there long after, or at least the ones coming behind them will. And without them, Newington would be nowhere near the position they're in now. And you look at the things we're doing. We've announced today that we're looking to start a brand new academy as well, getting younger players in the door and start growing the youth setup out again. And our new second team and management that have come in this year, we have some of their players up with us every game of pre-season, and I've been very, very impressed with the talent there for the past 3 games. So yeah, look, things are definitely looking up for the club, to be honest, and the future's bright as far as Newington's concerned.
No, fantastic. As you said, there's not enough said about the people who put the foundation work in, to let clubs kick on and compete at them levels. And I suppose all the success on the pitch is, it puts a smile on their faces as well. It makes all their hard work worthwhile. So as a player, you feel like you're giving back then,
That's it. When we won those trophies last year, the Stephen Sons in the league, it's to be able to, for those people to be able to walk around with a smile on their face, wearing their Newington badge with a wee bit of pride, and people actually recognising the badge and coming up to them and saying, "Oh, what about Newington? We heard won the league, the Stephen Sons again, blah blah blah." That's what they're in it for. They aren't in it for any praise for themselves. They love the club. They've been members of the club for probably long before I was born. And again, that's what the club's built on. People like that.
Oh, brilliant. I can echo them sentiments. So sure, every club has them people. Listen, brilliant, Richard. We'll kick on to the Keepie Uppies questions, and then hopefully they'll maybe throw back a few memories for you, and you can get a few name shouts out to some ex-players and stuff. I have them in front of me here. These are the head rackers.
Absolutely hate answering.
Well, we'll rattle through them for you as quick as we possibly can.
Sound, no worries.
Bear with me now, I get them on my screen. So you, Tops had sent these to you. The replies as short or sweet as you want, or as in depth as ever. So you were given some homework. So from the bat, I think I'll guess what the answer to the first one is. But the best team ever you played for?
That'll be this one. This one.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There has been a couple of good teams I could mention. The Doyle team and that the last Cliftonville team I played in where we won the double. Very good sides, but this Newington side I'm playing it's quite easily the best that I've been involved in yet.
Brilliant. All right, best captain.
This one's a bit of a tricky one for me, simply because, as I mentioned, I was captain the Doyle, been the captain leader for a while. When I first joined, Dino was captain, and I'm refusing to name him as the best captain simply because he's a grumpy bastard, and I'm not giving him that credit. So if I'm going to have to name anyone, Paddy McAllister was a good captain for me when we were at Cliftonville Reserves. Excellent player. Knew a lot about the game. I think he's coaching now. I don't know why he stepped away. He had a couple of bad injuries, so he stepped away from playing. But he was a good captain. Very good.
Brilliant. All right. Best goal scorer.
Best goal scorer. I've looked at this one over and over again now. I could name players that played with the youth level. I prefer to keep this sort of senior because I played a couple of years with the likes of Jay Donnelly, Tiernan McNichol when we were at Cliftonville was frightening when it came to scoring. A young lad actually when we were at the Doyle used to score sort of 30 or 40 goals a season. But if I'm keeping it senior and simply because of what he done last year, I would probably have to say Gaza Warwick. Some of the goals he scored every type of goal you could imagine. And actually, for my join Newington, no one had scored more than 20 goals a season. I actually don't think anyone would get near it. So I bet the whole team. I says, look, the first person to score 20 goals this season, I'll give them £100. And I think Gaza had that £100 in his back pocket by about March. So I would say Gaza.
Happy days. That sounds like a good captain to me. That's one way of persuading the both. All right, best touch.
Best touch. Again, you could throw Gaza in there. Darren Stewart. Jay Donnelly's touch was frightening. I would actually probably be inclined to say Jay. And you can see that now, sort of what he's doing. I know I did say I would like to keep it senior. There's a few players in our team technically outstanding with great touches. We P1, but if I'm going to say someone, I would probably say Jay.
All right, brilliant. All right, we'll rattle through these. So best keeper, best defender, best midfielder, and then best striker.
Best keeper, again, I'm not giving that grumpy bastard Dino any credit. He was very good. But Mark Maben, or a guy I played with at the Doyle, Christor Devlin, for some reason he's still playing with his local side, St. Matt's, and he could easily play at a much higher level. He's absolutely unbelievable goalkeeper. It'd be between him and Mark, but I'll say Mark this time simply because some of his performances last year are as good as I've seen from any goalkeeper. He was unbelievable at times. Really, I think you could probably argue he saved us between 10, 15 points towards the back of last season.
Yeah, and that's what they say with a good goalkeeper, it is like 10 or 15 points before you start.
Yeah. Defenders, we're actually blessed with a few outstanding defenders at the minute. Kevin Bradley, Ethan Casey, Matt Gorman, all brilliant centre halves. I play with Patrick Pearce, who's one of the best players I've actually played with. Taught me a lot about the game whenever I had the slot in at centre half, constantly barking out orders, talking. Tough one, very tough one. It would be one of those four. I'll go for Patrick Pearce.
All right, very good.
Best
midfielder then?
Yeah, I would. Again, a lot of talented midfielders with us at the minute, but I would probably have to say Joe McDonald.
Joe McDonald. And then best striker. Different best goal scorer.
Best striker. Again, I named a few earlier who had played with when I mentioned sort of the goal scorer. Darren Stewart, who's come in, he came in to play with us there in January, has been unbelievable. He would definitely be up there. Gaza Warwick can play up front again, another one. Tough. Again, I don't really want to base it on sort of mid youth days or junior days. So I'll probably go with Don Stewart.
All right. Brilliant. So best left foot and then best right foot.
I hate these questions with passion.
Yeah, they're hard, aren't they?
Left foot, I will go again. Played with a few. Paddy McAllister was left footed. He was a smasher. Jack Riley plays for us now. Brilliant left peg on him, but I would probably have to say Ross Lavery. And he caused us a few problems this year playing for Armagh. Every time he played against us, he wasn't seemed to score, bastard. But he's an absolute wand of a left foot.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Right
Always
foot.
the one.
Right foot. I don't know.
There's so many, isn't there?
right footer.
That's it. The left footer stand out.
Right foot. That's a tough one. Gaza is a smashing right foot. VP. Here's loads. There's loads.
We can park that.
Let me
We can
come back
park
to
it.
that one. I'll have another thing.
All right, no worries. All right. So best manager.
Best manager. It's hard to look past sort of Crossan and Hamo for what we've done this year and what Crossan has built over the past sort of 3 or 4 years to get us this stage. I think if my dad listens to this, he'd be raising if I don't mention him as well from when we were youth.
Yeah.
He was very good. Presser, brilliant for me at Cliftonville as well. I'll say I would have to go Connor simply from where he's brought Newington. I would go for Connor Crossan, yeah.
All right, brilliant. All right, player who loves a hard challenge.
Neil Cummings. That's not even close.
Simple.
No one's close to that.
You didn't even take a breath there.
He would tackle his granny. You want to see him in training in the ring. It's mental. Everyone just wants to be in his team because he just cut you in half if he has to.
Brilliant. All right, the next two. Quickest player and best all-round player.
Quickest player, I'll probably have to go for Conal Burns, simply because he hasn't lost a single yard of pace from the first time I started playing with him about 5 or 6 years ago to now, and I think he's sort of in his 30s, 31, 32 at the minute, and he's still frighteningly quick. Now, there might be 1 or 2 players that might have a yard on him in our team at the minute, but he's frighteningly fast and he just doesn't seem to be slowing down, so I'd have to say Conal.
Brilliant. And best all-round player.
Best all-round player. Probably go for it'd be Joe McDonnell, I would say. The year we won the Steven Sons 2017, as I mentioned, we did a poor league campaign, but Joe carried us sort of best part of that year. I thought he was unbelievable, and that's the best I'd seen of him. And I was very, very good player, so I'd probably have to say Joe on that one.
All right, last 2 questions here. Keep you up, please put you out of your misery. The player that got better with age, and then the player who always gave 100%.
The player that got better with age. Now, I'm going off the back of what people are telling me. I'm going to say VP. Patrick Downey plays for us now. Apparently, he wasn't very good when he was young, but now he is technically one of the best players I've played with. He couldn't get the ball in a phone box, and he's playing, I'd say, the best football of his career at the minute. He'd probably listen to this, but he used to be a wee fat thing. But when we started that PTing, he just went to a completely different level. So I would say him. I don't know how bad he was when he was younger, but the lads that went to school with him and stuff have told me that he wasn't overly great. So I will go with him.
Brilliant. And then that player that always gave 100%.
Player that always gave 100%. Can I give myself that one? No, I'm joking.
Why not?
No. We've a few of them in our team. Most of our team, like I mentioned, that's sort of we based ourselves on last year. Always give 100%. Robbie McVarnick always gives 100%. He's hard work at times, very hard work actually. But to be fair to him, he's up and down the line like a whippet. Him and Jack. So I'll go with one of those two. Jack or Robbie.
Brilliant. So that's the hard bit over now. We have the Wheel of Berba question.
Right.
So this is just a controversial question, or a question just we want your opinion on it. And it's a simple one. You've got off late today. So we spun the wheel of Burba, and it's a simple one. So Sunday football, good or bad? And before you answer that, let me give you a stat. So in the NIFL League, attendances went up 32% last season. So what's your thoughts on Sunday football?
Well, are we just talking Irish Premiership?
Irish League football, just Irish. Yeah.
I would be for it. Now, in saying that, I would like it to be a mix. If you're talking just moving it all to Sunday, then no.
Yeah.
No, I would be against that. Because again, I don't really think it's fair on the players that play the Irish League football, because again, you need to have a social life as well. Probably a lot of them aren't full time, have to go to work on a Monday if you like a beer on a Saturday after your match or whatever. But I do think it's a good idea to have a mix. I think the Irish League are potentially missing out on something if you could be doing like a couple of Super Sundays a year where you potentially have a Glentoran Linfield and a Clivenville Crusaders game, both playing on a Sunday. Potentially have it on sort of BBC iPlayer or whatever, covering it, and you'll get a lot more people through the gate to watch it, because the likes of myself, I would love to go and watch Clivenville a lot more, only I'm playing and around the same time every week. So players like ourselves that play in those leagues or play on a Saturday would be able to go and watch them. And again, I just think it's good. It's something different. There's potential revenue hours, a lot, like it said, for those games that do be televised. If they're televised on a Saturday evening or a Friday evening, then people are in work and you're not getting much people through the gate. It doesn't look great on camera, but I think on a Sunday, and I think that League Cup final last year showed it, that there's potential revenue there in terms of clubs getting more people in the gate, which if it looks good on TV, you're probably going to get more sponsorship from outside, because they're going to be looking at it going, there's plenty of eyes watching this. So I think they're missing the trick in terms of mixing the two. If you're talking about just going all Sunday, then no, I think that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, I will say I'm in agreement with you. As I say, that element, football fans like ourselves, you're playing every Saturday, but to be able to get out and support your team, even if it is every now and again, it's definitely, as you say, a revenue spinner, and creates a better product all round. So
yeah, and I thought that League Cup final last year, the Clivenville Coleraine, was the buzz around that and the build up to it was unbelievable. It was sort of very well done by NIFL and Jared Lawler, I thought, and I think that's potentially the way forward. Again, don't be doing it every week, don't overkill it, but every now and again, maybe once a month, you can have a Coleraine Ballymena game on it, a Carrick Larne, anything, those sort of derby games. Do a Super Sunday,
showcase games,
maybe once a month, a Super Sunday, something like that. I think would be a good idea and a good way of sort of bringing more income into the league and getting more people to actually watch it and go out and support their sort of local clubs.
Yeah, 100% agree. I'd say that the players can get out and support. Not often you get to stand in the stands unless you're going to over to England to watch Man United or Liverpool or Celtic, so.
Exactly.
No, it's definitely one to ponder. Hopefully the NIFL are listening today and they'll go with our suggestions.
Well, look, George, I think he's sort of pushing for it at the minute. So you never know, but I don't think it's a bad idea to have that mix. Again, I'll reiterate, I don't think it's a good idea, and I don't think it's fair on those players that are playing for part-time teams in the Irish League to move it all to Sunday, because then what do they do their Saturday? Can that have a drink? I think they sacrifice it enough at times. The part-time players especially. I know a lot of the clubs are going full-time now, but not every club's lucky enough to have that sort of backing and income.
No, 100% agree. Listen, Richard, that's bringing us. We're 55 minutes in. That was a great chat. We're going to just wrap things up. So thank you. Congratulations to Newington, and congratulations to yourself on all the achievements to date. And no doubt the future is bright. As you said, next season you're full of beans, ready to hit the ground running in the championship. We'll be looking out for you. Yeah, no, look, great chatting to you. I know, as you said, the boys are buzzing for the season to get started. We're optimistic. We're not overconfident, but no, very much looking forward to it. And look, I'm sure
I'm sure a lot of the lads are going to be paying a lot more attention to these podcasts now. I've been on waffling for 55 minutes, or I can put them off it for life. I don't know. It depends what way you look.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. All good. I'll go and hunt out this Instagram video of the goal of the season from last year.
Go for it. Go for it. It's on there. It's on there.
Good man. As I say, we'll release this and then get it out probably tomorrow afternoon or whatever. You can like it and share it and tag all your mates and spread the word. Spread the word in Newington.
Will do. Look, no such thing as bad publicity, even though I can
Exactly,
talk shit with the best of them, but
that's all it is. Just a celebration, as I say. We got a platform to celebrate football friends.
Yeah. No, definitely. And look, again, thanks very much for having me on, lads. I really do appreciate it. And it's been a good yarn. So, yeah, cheers for that.
Good man. Appreciate it. All right, Rich, look after yourself. We'll chat again soon.
Yes, all the best, lads. Cheers. Thank you.
All right, good luck.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Keepie Uppies with Richie and Tots.